Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to piece together the evidence in the really tragic and frankly disturbing case of Carrie White. We're going to follow that chain of events that leads from one single awful moment to a complete catastrophe for an entire town. Our investigation really kicks off with this totally bizarre event from Carrie's childhood. I mean, get this. When she was just 3 years old, a local paper reported that stones were falling from a clear sky and they were landing almost exclusively on her house. This wasn't just some weird weather phenomenon, it was a sign. And it really poses the central question we're going to explore. What was really going on inside that house? So to understand what ultimately happened to Carrie White, we have to fast forward to high school. We need to look at the one event that was the trigger, the catalyst for everything that came after. A moment of just extreme trauma in her high school locker room. This is pretty much how everyone saw her. A total outcast, a target. The case files describe her as this short, kind of pudgy girl covered in pimples. The perpetual victim for every single cruel joke. She was isolated, she was awkward, and she was completely unprepared for what was about to happen to her. So after gym class, in the shower, she discovers she's bleeding, but her fanatically religious mother had never, ever told her about menstruation. So in that moment, she is gripped by just sheer, absolute terror. She genuinely thinks she is dying. And instead of, any sympathy, the other girls react with just brutal mockery. A student named Chris Hargensen starts chanting these horrible insults at her, like this Turkish taunt you see, which basically translates to period head. And the jeering just spreads like wildfire. The whole locker room turns on her. And it doesn't stop there. The taunts escalate into this horrifying physical assault. The girls actually start throwing tampons and sanitary pads at her, screaming things like this phrase here, "Plug it up." Carrie is left cornered, totally confused, and just utterly humiliated. And let's be crystal clear, the shower incident wasn't an isolated event, not even close. It was the breaking point after years and years of relentless, systematic bullying. I mean, from public humiliation to private cruelty, every single day was a new kind of torment for her. The whole scene just climaxes with Carrie cornered, howling like an animal, covered in her own blood and the sanitary products that her classmates threw at her. This is a moment of just absolute psychological collapse. But here's the thing. This traumatic event didn't just break Carrie's spirit. It unlocked something hidden deep, deep inside her. A frightening and incredibly powerful ability that had basically been dormant since she was a little kid. Now, academic texts that are part of the case file actually give this power a name. Telekinesis, or TK for short. And here is the crucial link. Researchers consistently find that TK almost always manifests during moments of extreme personal crisis, the exact kind of distress Carrie was just put through. And when you look back, you can trace a really clear pattern. Small but definitely escalating instances of this power just started popping up whenever Carrie was under extreme duress. You've got the stone raining from when she was a kid, the light bulb exploding in the shower, the ashtray falling. Each one is a direct reaction to stress. Okay, so to really understand the deep-seated source of all this trauma, we have to look at the environment she was raised in. And that means we need to talk about her mother, Margaret White. Margaret subjected Carrie to this fanatical and just incredibly twisted version of religion. She taught Carrie that her own body was a source of sin and shame, that menstruation was literally a curse for being wicked, and that prayer was a punishment, something to be carried out for hours while locked in a tiny closet. And if you dig into Margaret's own past, you start to see where this all comes from. A history of trauma, instability, and extreme religious fervor. She was briefly institutionalized. She was so convinced of her own sin that she thought her pregnancy was a cancerous tumor, and she even tried to kill her own baby at birth. This was the woman raising Carrie. This testimony from a neighbor is just chilling. It describes Margaret's terrifying reaction to seeing 3-year-old Carrie just looking at her in a bathing suit. It was this moment of insane rage from her mother that led directly to that mysterious rain of stones we saw at the very beginning. The two events are absolutely linked. All right, so let's get back to the aftermath of the shower incident. It sent 2 of the students involved down starkly different paths, and that's what really set the stage for the final act of this whole tragedy. So on one hand, you have a student, Sue Snell, who is just overcome with guilt and shame for her part in it all. But then you have the ringleader, Chris Hargensen. She feels nothing but rage, and not at her own actions, but at being punished for them. Her first instinct is revenge. Now, the school administration actually tries to deliver some justice here. they threaten the one thing that matters to these girls: going to the prom. But Chris Hargensen just defies the punishment, and her powerful father steps in, escalating what should have been a school disciplinary issue into a full-blown legal threat. And just so we're absolutely clear, this cruelty wasn't some one-time lapse in judgment for Chris. Her school record shows a really disturbing pattern: 74 detentions in 4 years. And get this, 20 of those were specifically for targeting and harassing students with disabilities. So, this is what it all comes down to, right? All the evidence we've looked at, the constant abuse from her mother, the relentless bullying from her peers, and this terrifying new power waking up inside her, it was all building toward one single, catastrophic conclusion. This question is the very heart of the Carrie White case. So, with Chris stripped of her prom privileges, but still absolutely burning for revenge, the stage was set. This line from a letter she wrote is it's a chilling promise of what's to come. It's the prelude to a tragedy that would end up scarring the town of Chamberlain forever.